So it's been quite a show, with the 30th of May bringing us some more news from Silent Hill's transmission and state of play. Silent Hill, the most beloved horror game alongside Resident Evil in the horror genre, has unveiled some interesting details of the future of the series. It's fair to say that Silent Hill 2 is by far the most groundbreaking entry within the series, and there has been some very interesting information regarding the Silent Hill's transmission.
Is it dangerous?
Maybe.
I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
In the context of the Silent Hill series, it's mostly based down to the gameplay of Silent Hill 2, along with the new movie that is also based in the world of Silent Hill 2. We get to see over nearly 15 minutes of gameplay, and there's really quite a lot to digest. Being a true fan of the series myself, I'm sure along with you guys, are only naturally going to have a high expectation for really how this game should be. And it's fair to say that I'm not going to hold back on what I believe is wrong with the game and what is great with the game. The presentation of this video was really well put together, but I think that's all part of the marketing scheme to get this game sold out to the markets and to the masses. Of course, everybody who is involved with the making of this game believe that they have done a perfect recreation of the original game. But as fans, we can take a look and really see if that is the case.
Our special place. What could she mean? This whole town was our special place.
You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did.
At the start of the gameplay showcase of Silent Hill 2, we don't necessarily start where we do at the beginning of the game. In fact, we start at east side of the South Vale. It's not that I believe that's because it's been taken from the game, it's just simply because they're showcasing it from within the town itself. Because if we're to look at the trailer of Silent Hill 2 Remake of the state of play, we can quite clearly see that James and Angela are conversing in the graveyard. There's no denying that this game does look visually stunning, but do bear in mind that this game was actually being recorded in and showcased in 1080p HD and not within a 4K resolution. Already naturally we can quite see that the game seems somewhat similar to a Resident Evil game. Everything is seamless where doors open without any loading screens. And instead of cameras that seem to function differently depending on what environment you're in, this time it seems like we have somewhat of a fixed or analog stick controlled third-person control scheme, which is quite natural by today's standards of modern day remakes.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god, stop your fucking lying.
Oh Konami, you never stop to cease to amaze. They say it's going to be a faithful recreation, but we can see there is quite clearly a difference from the original game on how James retrieves the radio. We don't seem to crawl underneath a garage inside a house in where we collect the radio. Whilst I get this is a remake, and whilst yes things are going to be a little bit different, but it just contradicts the whole entire statement that tries to send out a vibe of nostalgia to attract the old fans, when really that baiting and luring doesn't work. Whilst the marketing team have done a really great job in trying to make this game appear to be a lot more than what it is, and especially with the misleading contradictions, as we've seen. How can you call it a faithful recreation if you're not being faithful to the original story? I couldn't imagine what they will do with Metal Gear Solid 3 by changing certain components. It just won't feel the same because it's not faithful to the original. I think where Konami and Blooper Team get a thumbs up from me is simply because of the combat. It's without a doubt a lot better than the original. Let's be honest, the first game was a lot more clunkier, and some could say, well, that added to the appeal of the scare, but let's be honest, it's a remake. Things do have to be improved on. So we can't deny that the gameplay does look a lot better. Although I can't deny this game does give off massive Resident Evil vibes, and that's one thing that I kind of dislike. This game's meant to be a standalone title, something that was a opposite to Resident Evil. It was the competitor. To me, it just feels like Konami is just simply borrowing ideas from Capcom. As far as I'm aware, there is no menu system for items neither, although there could just be a quick access button that you could use to take your supplies and weapons and health items a lot quicker, which I do like, because you can still be engaged in the game without having to go in the menu all the time.
What you got there?
None of your business. You didn't love Mary anyway.
What? Hey, wait! How do you know her name?
You! It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
I don't know. Maybe I did.
What's a little girl like you doing here anyway?
Huh? Are you blind or something?
What's that letter?
None of your business. You didn't love Mary anyway.
Wait, how do you know Mary's name?
So as you can see, it's clearly not a faithful recreation to the original game, from everything that we loved to how the presentation of the characters and how they brought across their dialogue. We can quite clearly see in the remake that there appears to be missing pieces of dialogue, and the deliverance of the voice acting seems to be poor. We don't feel any intensity, we don't feel any urgency or mystery. Personally, if you'd have asked some Silent Hill fans and me, they'd have been better off reprising the role of Guy Seehee or just reusing the old voice lines and just buff up the audio, because something doesn't sound right. It's not that I'm disrespecting the talent of Luke Roberts, I just think that some people are too in love with his image more than they are his own voice. That doesn't seem to suit James Sunderland in my opinion. What really gets me is how Konami always feel the need to replace the voice actors for another actor in the remasters or the HD collections. It just isn't necessary. Could you imagine what it'd be like if they replaced David Hayter in the remakes voice acting for someone else entirely? There'd be uproar, there'd be flipping pitchforks and flamethrowers. Put it this way, Konami wouldn't hear the end of it, is the point I'm trying to make. Got a lot to break down, including the official remake trailer. It's regarding Angela, as you could probably already tell, but let's continue with the gameplay footage they've given us.
Where did she go?
First of all, thumbs up for Konami on recapturing Maria's essence. I get the sexiness vibes and I can understand why she is completely James's wet dream. But once again, where's the faithful recreation? There's always an outfit change within these remakes. Maria looks more visibly appealing in the PS2 version. I mean, isn't that the whole idea given on James' psyche? You literally get a 10% boner decrease when watching the new version. No disrespect to the Zoomers, but I can already hear them saying, oh, this is just a typical boomer complaint for a nostalgia grab. No, face facts, the PS2 version Maria is more sexier.
My name is Maria. I don't look like a ghost, do I?
So one thing I do like about remakes is the seamless transitions, just to be able to grab and interact with objects without having to go into a menu interface system. There's more likely a quick tab button for the keyboard and the controller from where we can actually access the map a lot easier, just like our weapons. One of the problems I do have with Brookhaven Hospital is it doesn't seem eerie or intimidating at all. We can see sunlight. In contrast to Silent Hill's themes, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's usually shrouded in foggy and eerie, depressive vibe, based on James's psyche once again. There wouldn't be any sunlight. That's why I can't understand why they've added this into the Brookhaven Hospital, given on the fact that James might not fully be integrated with the other world as of yet, but still, why is it there? To be honest, I can't knock the combat system within Silent Hill 2. It's exactly really how a remake should be. Not only are the visuals stunning with the attacks and the physics of the actual character attacking and swinging with the item and object, that really adds to it. We can actually see some kind of parrying or dodging system. When the enemy lunges at us, it isn't exactly easy to get past them. It's a little bit of a challenge. In fact, it's probably better than the original. I know some people say it takes away from the intensity of the first game, but we got to remember this is a remake, and in fact this just adds to a level of interest of engaging in combat. It's like Resident Evil 1. The enemies in that game were very far and few in between, but they were very tough to get past. I think what would balance the combat out is if the enemies in return are just as challenging, which would make it so that it wouldn't be so easier, adding to the intensity of the game. Because you shouldn't just be able to shoot and gun and hit your way through so easily. That's what adds to the scare and the appeal of having to dodge some of the enemies along the way. After all, Silent Hill is a survival horror. Well, after seeing this, I kind of take back a few of my words given on the combat system of this game. The intensity is not there. When you try to change your weapon, we don't visibly see James switching through his equipment. He can instantly and seamlessly switch to a gun and then straight to a handheld weapon, just as steel pipe within a split second. Where's the realism? In fact, it takes away from the balance of the game. If we have to switch weapons and it takes time to do so, then at least then we'd have to backtrack. It just takes away from the combat experience and the realism of the game. If James is carrying a shotgun, where's he put it? Down his underpants? There should be a strap tied round his shoulder. I mean, sure, you could get away with it back on PlayStation 2, but this is a remake after all. The very fact that you can just pull a shotgun out of thin air just seems ridiculous. I mean, Konami, you can do better than this. Even the cutscene in Brookhaven Hospital between James and Laura is very debatable for the presentation of how the voice acting is delivered. Just take up the visual goggles for a while and you can actually realise that there's some differences from the original. It's not as faithful as they're telling us. I'm open to remakes and changes in video games, but don't try to claim it's a faithful recreation. It's a reinvention, is what it is.
Laura, why do you keep running away from me? And how do you know about Mary?
Mary's my friend. We met at the hospital last year.
Stop lying! Laura, I'm sorry, I didn't mean...
Fine! Don't believe me! See if I care!
Hey!
Let go!
Sorry, Laura, but I can't let you just run around this place. You might get hurt.
Hurt by what?
Look, just stay with me, okay? This is no place for a kid.
Fine. But there's something I gotta get.
Laura?
Huh? You know my name?
Eddie told me.
That big fat blabbermouth.
How do you know about Mary?
What's the big deal?
Why can't you just tell me?
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No, I won't.
I was friends with Mary. We met at the hospital. It was last year.
You liar! Laura,
Fine, don't believe me.
But last year, Mary was already... I'm sorry, Laura. Anyway, let's go. We can talk about this later. This is no place for a kid. There are all sorts of strange things around here. I can't believe you haven't even gotten a scratch on you.
Why should I?
So yeah, as you can see, within the placement of the dialogue itself is a lot different to the original. I'm not saying that it's terrible, but the presentation and deliverance, like the last game, just isn't the same. Even the atmosphere and the tension of the ambience doesn't even feel right. It's like the whole horror elements that made the original so great, I just don't feel like they're there. And one thing that annoys me as well about the Silent Hill franchise is that a part of it seemed to have become westernized. It feels like it's been taken away from the original hands of Team Silent. Everything doesn't seem like a Japanese interpretation of a Western world. It's a shame, because to be honest with you, anything that is Hollywood really does ruin anything that's in a game. And to me, this new Silent Hill feels more like a Hollywood flick than it does a Japanese horror.
皆さんいかがでしたでしょうか。真のサイコロジカルホラーであり、シリーズ最高傑作として評されたサイレントヒル2のストーリーはそのままに、本作ではよりその世界観に没頭できるように、ゲームデザインやユーザー体験を強化しています。
So yes, Silent Hill 2 is now available on October the 8th in 2024, and you can pre-order it now on PlayStation Store and Steam. As for Xbox users, I'm not sure that you can. But as we can see, that is all what they've shown us for the demo gameplay footage. And whilst this game is no doubt visually stunning and probably has a lot more to offer than what they've shown us, and by the end result could be completely different, I just really think that the whole idea of it being a perfect recreation or a faithful recreation is a bit of bullshit in my opinion. Of course, like with many games these days, there's different editions such as the standard editions and certain Dual-X editions, and on the PlayStation 5 you can get this rabbit mask, but it's only exclusive for Sony and PlayStation. If you ask me, it's not something that's worth investing more money to, because really, yes, you get a digital soundtrack and an art book, and you just get a stupid mask you can put onto James, and that's roughly about all that you get.
またサウンドトラックは今回も原作と同じように山岡明さんが手掛けており、原作の楽曲のアレンジ版のほか新曲も収録されています。どちらもシリーズファンの方には満足いただく。
The great news is that Akira Yamaoka will be resuming his role with having his soundtrack implemented within the remake. Of course, it's going to be tweaked to a more modernized sound for the remake. For anyone who knows who Akira is and listens to his music, you know that his shit slaps. In the standard edition you get Myra the dog mask and Robbie the rabbit mask, and on the deluxe edition you get a few more features. For the standard edition it's going to cost you $60, but for those who want the digital deluxe will have to pay $70.
I think the biggest change that we've had was actually how to make the game approachable for the newcomers who have not played the original, but at the same time to still retain the familiarity of the game that player remembers from 20 years ago.
Our goal from the very beginning was to maintain the game's atmosphere while modernizing the gameplay to make it competitive in 2024.
The hardest was designing combat. We want to be as faithful as possible to the original game, but also we want players to feel satisfaction while playing, remembering that we need to fit in horror genre standards.
The main thing that requires rethinking was the fog, because it was called classic in the original game, and it's a veil that covers the world and makes the player to feel even more isolated.
It's going to be interesting to say the least on exactly how faithful and how much of love has been invested into this classic horror genre title. According to sources in Konami, a lot of the people who've developed this game, such as Blooper Team, are big time fans of the series that no doubt appreciate the classic elements from the original and definitely want to apply it to a modern audience that can appreciate modern day controls while staying to its originality. There's a lot to naturally look forward to when it comes to this remake, but we can't really jump the gun not knowing exactly what it's going to be like as of yet. Of course, it's worth taking the chance, because why not? I mean, this game is a timeless classic, and why not experience it in a more modern aspect? But the fact is, it's a whole new retake of the original game. Of course, those who remember playing the classic title will definitely not feel the same as it was playing the original, and that just goes for any other remake in the franchise. I guarantee you it's going to be exactly the same for the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. It's just a generational thing. But if done right, even the older audience can appreciate a remake.
Character such as James Sunderland, you obviously have to respect the original.
When playing these characters in this game, the thing that I paid most attention to was the original game.
So he is not an action hero by any means. He is just a guy who is a little lost at the top of this game, and in the sense of he is to a greater extent in a bewildered state. So it's very interesting charting his journey.
So diving into the trailer, as we already know, and everybody has pointed out within the comment section, that something doesn't look right about Angela's appearance. I mean, whilst yes, the game isn't always about its visuals, but considering it's a remake and the whole idea is to make it look visually appealing, and for the characters to at least have somewhat of a close resemblance to the original version. Personally for me, one of the biggest letdowns I find within the series, aside from some of the combat aspects, has to be the voice acting and the visual appearance of some of the characters. Not really James or Laura or even Maria, but more or less Angela. Her character doesn't resemble anything of the original, and nor do we get any of the disturbed vibes that she has in the original game whatsoever. Like, even just meeting her at the start of the game, we can already feel her tormented vibes. Even the way the voice acting is delivered is absolutely beautiful. But just listen to the remake version, it's fucking atrocious.
I think you should stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it?
Is it dangerous?
Maybe.
I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
The delivery is... what do I need to say? If any of the OGs know what I'm talking about, please let me know in the comment section down below. The deliverance doesn't sell it for me. But in all fairness, whilst Guy Seehe's voice might be better for James, Luke Roberts does a pretty good job, alongside the girl who plays Lucy as well. We're yet to see Eddie Dombrowski's character's voice acting, but hopefully Konami pick a good replacement from the original. But with all that being said, let's check out the OG's Angela's voice from the original game.
Lost?
Yeah, I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
Thanks.
But
Yes?
I think you'd better stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it. It's kind of hard to explain, but...
Is it dangerous?
Maybe. And it's not just the fog, either.
Okay, I got it. I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
To be honest, I'm not going to criticise and really hate on this game whatsoever, because that's the thing, it's a remake and it's going to bring something new and engaging that we've never experienced before. To say that we didn't expect that to begin with is just ridiculous, because of course every different remake is not going to be completely the same as the original. But I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon of big YouTubers and try and make out like this game is amazing just to get a few brownie points from the developers and perhaps maybe get a free copy of the game. I'm calling it out for what I see, and whilst they have done a great job in certain ways and I can't wait to buy this game and play it myself, I also just think it's a bit contradictory to say that it's a faithful recreation of the original as a whole round. But with all that being said, guys, I haven't got anything more to say. If you want something to say to me, leave it down in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe, support the channel, and yeah, I'll see you later.